All right, so as we saw, you can do a lot of stuff with dragging and dropping and, highlighting things and all kinds of cool stuff. But I'm using Clojure to render stuff, right? So you see lots of vectors and lots of maps, and it's a data-based SQL, dialect and all that, which you don't have to use, but it's there. But that also means that this is a full-blown SQL, or excuse me, a full-blown Clojure REPL tool also. So let me go to a new tab. I'm going to create a new block and open the editor, and then I'm going to say add a new slice. So this is a card, right? I'm going to add another slice to the card, and these are all configurable. I'm going to say give me a Clojure card. As you can see, it starts out with some, just basic like hello world type stuff, and I can, whatever you change stuff in here, and you get the result. I can also do things like, let's see, for e range of this, make a vector. Just bear with me here. So I made a vector of maps, right? Well, a vector of maps is also the common way, one of the common ways in Clojure that you would show like a row set, right? And the system understands this, and it's like, oh, well, that's a row set. I understand that. And then now I have this code as a SQL table, essentially. So we can go out to here. Let me move this to show our table. And let me drag the code panel over here, just so we can see it side by side. And then now that we have our data as SQL, essentially, I can do all the same cool shit I could do with SQL. I could say, okay, all right, well, let's count these rows here, and let's sum up this number, and let's I only did one hay, so it's not going to be very interesting. Only 12 hays, and it all kind of works together. I could even join this with a regular SQL table, or join this with another Clojure call from another NREPL connection. You can see I go right in here and say, hey, give me 124, and let's make that higher. And it should run the code, and our values change, and our table changes, which is pretty sweet. And then I could also do visualizations on this, which is not going to make any sense because this is garbage data, but it's a kind of like, hey, look at that. But kind of an interesting thing here, right? So let me go back to the REPL. Another cool thing is being able to see data in different ways. So in this way, we could see the oh, this is the editor. Let me go back to the actual code here. There we go, the actual code. As text, as Eden, which is the Clojure's JSON format. I can see it as data, which I'm using kind of boxes to represent vectors and maps. And what makes that interesting is that if this were not a row set and this were just regular some Clojure data, I could not only browse it like this, but I could also dissect it, right? So this is a map in a vector, vector position 0, vector position 1. I can say, hey, give me test 2 in vector position 0, right? And I get 12, 681. And then now, see this solver raw custom override 0 test 2. This is literally just a reference to this output. So I can treat this just like it was any old piece of content on my dashboard, right? I can say font size 45, color, we'll just do it like this. And then, I have this number. And then, like I said, just like in creative dashboard stuff, I can do what I want with this value, even though it's downstream from a Clojure REPL call that is dynamic and reactive with the rest of the system. No, that's a little too high. There we go. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. Something even more interesting kind of is, let's say I had a, let's do another REPL. Let's open this here. And let's get rid of all those rows. I don't want to make the browser laggy. All right, so we have this card now. And let's say we want a new Clojure here. And I'm just going to do another vector. I'm going to say 4, okay. Just kind of silly. And I'm going to say treat this as a row set, even though it's a vector. Boom. So now we have it as a row set. Cool. Let me go to my little display here, and I have my row set. Well, now that it's a row set, it's a parameter, just like the SQL data was. So I can come over here to my original Clojure deal and say, well, why don't I make this parameter, since it's new Clojure 1, you see it highlights when I hover over it just to see what we're looking at. Vec_val, 8686. I can say, well, why don't I just put that here, and then that will get replaced. So now I have this, you see it highlighting when I hover over it. This is a new reactive parameter that will re-render this block based on the block it came from, right? So if this gets changed to, 35, it re-renders everything, gets 35. Again, it's a silly example because these are just all like nonsense random things, but you can see how this reactive thing can kind of take its own shape as we, get further and further down this like rabbit hole here. No pun intended. But yeah, so Clojure REPLs and reactive parameters and all kinds of stuff. I'll see you in the next one.